Do the Warriors just own Boston? Is that what's going on here?
I know that's kind of been a narrative coming out of that game. I haven't felt that way about Boston. Just because I felt when you watch the NBA Finals and you see the first 4 games of the, you could say 4 games of the NBA Finals, it never felt like the Warriors owned them. You could argue they should have been down 3-1. Maybe you could argue they should have been up 3-1. So I don't know if they own them. I don't know that yet, but it feels like this, though. It does, because I was watching that game at Disneyland. A lot of waiting in line at Disneyland. A lot of being very tired and sitting in a cafe in Disneyland. So had a lot of time to watch the game on my phone. Great reception, too, by the way.
2 timeline plan. You have to wait. You don't get what you want immediately. You got to wait for him now.
Exactly, right? And so I watched most of the game and then rewatched it when I got home. It feels like Boston's a good matchup for the Warriors. That's what it feels like. It feels like what Boston is trying to do is very much what the Warriors are okay with. And now Boston's become this team where they're not defensively oriented anymore. I don't think now part of that is because Robert Williams is out. But I feel like they want to shoot threes and they want to play fast and they want to pass. It's exactly what the Warriors do. And watching that game, and I know that they're the best team in the NBA, but if you're going to play that style against the Warriors, very, very, very rarely, I could say never is the case, or you're going to win playing the Warriors that way. The teams that beat the Warriors play a slow it down, defensive grind style. And I think the Boston Celtics shifting to this like crazy offense, play fast type of stuff, I think the Warriors are going to always be better doing that. So I think it's a matchup thing. I don't know if they own them, but I mean, maybe it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, since Steve Kerr took over, no one has beaten the Warriors playing the Warriors game when the Warriors are healthy. It's been the case. We're pushing a decade of it. They are better at that style of basketball than you. I think my thing with Boston is they don't have a player who commands a double team. I love Jason Tatum. I love Jaylen Brown. Like they have like 8 players I would kill to have on the Warriors. Like everyone wants Marcus Smart on their team. Everyone would like Robert Williams, even though he didn't play tonight. Even guys like Derek White, you want them on your team. They're good bench players. Maybe not at their price, but but there's no one who I'm like, all right, I got to send a second body. There's no Giannis. There's no LeBron. There's no Jokic, honestly. Like, and those 3 guys are guys who obviously operate around the rim, but like, you can even throw Steph into this. Steph, no matter what you do, you're sending 2 to 3 bodies him every time. And the fact that the Warriors can play Boston straight up means Draymond can move everyone around like chess pieces. And that's been kind of an overwhelming theme with these matchups with Boston. They're physical. They're obviously a good team. But I don't feel like they can generate good enough offense against the Warriors. And then it just comes down to whether the Warriors are going to score enough. And, 4 out of 6 times in the finals they did. And tonight they did. And I guess any way you want to slice it, it doesn't feel like a good matchup for the Celtics.
So that boils it down to one guy then, because then that boils it down to Jason Tatum. So that's the issue, I think, for Boston, is that Jason Tatum is supposed to be the guy that figured out the Warriors, right? It's like how Steph after 2016 became a better defender. It's like how LeBron after losing to the Dallas Mavericks became a better post-up player, a more well-rounded offensive game. It's like you could go down the line of the greats, Kobe, all those guys. They all who was the guy that Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, right? Not who was the guy.
Sure.
Obviously all those guys. So Jason Tatum, you think after getting embarrassed thoroughly by the Warriors, figures it out. So that's supposed to be your guy that's supposed to command a double. Either that or the guy that can just score if you're going to only play one-on-one against them. And every single time I watch the Boston Celtics against the Warriors, I come out thinking, goddamn, Jaylen Brown is good. That's what I think, right? Like we never ever talk about Jason Tatum in a good. And so maybe that's the issue. So is that just a mental thing for Jason Tatum? Either way, I also think the other thing is when you talk about Klay Thompson, the Boston Celtics don't have. They need a.
Yes.
I think they need like a John. You know where I'm like. They need a John Morant. They need Jason Tatum, Jason Brown types are players that the Warriors' big guards can guard. The Warriors don't have a guy, not anymore, especially
even like post Achilles. Like he's not worried about Tatum muscling him. He's worried about like quick guys.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe that works in their favor. And we're going to talk about some of the bigger wings here because he was kind of the story of the game. But you throw Wiggins back in there who didn't play last night, right? I know the Boston had a couple big guys that didn't play, but that doesn't stop the fact that if the Warriors even have their best perimeter defender, and that doesn't bode well for Boston. So
No, it doesn't.
Klay
I
was
feel
very unimpressive, just very unimpressive.
let's do Klay for one more minute because like you hit on it, and I think I led with Klay's offense, but I felt like the most impressive thing for Klay was like no issue guarding Tatum on an island, none whatsoever. And like Klay's kind of had issues defensively for most of the year. He's not been he's been quite frankly disappointing on that end for most of the year. What it tells me is two things. One, Klay can get to a certain level that matters in the finals, which is why you and I were not into people like throwing him under the bus. You know, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, look, man, is he playing disappointingly right now? Absolutely. But I'd still want to see if I can get him back to where he's capable of, because end of the day, there's only a handful of players who can play at that level, right? The second one is like you said, it's just total matchup stuff. Like Boston, and they don't have guys who can exploit him, quite frankly. It's even Brogdon, who is a nice pickup for them and will help them. He's not a guy who's going to blow by Klay.